Let's do this again. Okay. So actually, since we're already in the mode, let's look at the Tax Act assignment. We'll come back and look at the tax return and how that is set up. So if you click on the Tax Act assignment, what you'll see is, so you should have downloaded the Tax Act software when you completed the assignments in the intro folder. Detailed explanation of the software with the download instructions can be found in Appendix C of Chapter 1 in your textbook. So within the textbook, where's my book? Appendix C, Chapter 1. Yeah. So there's all sorts of detailed information here. Getting started with Tax Act. There's like 3 pages on it, okay? Software is also available in various computer labs on campus. Ask your instructor for which computer labs have the software. You must use a PC. It cannot be installed on a Mac. It's too bad it's not cloud-based. That would be the nicest way to do it, but it's not. Okay, so in your textbook, it refers to the shoebox to software introduction page, page 1-16. All right. So starting on page 1-16, and this first one goes through step by step for you. The rest of them, I'll show you chapter 2, what I mean. The rest of them are a little bit different, but this first one is step by step. So the shoebox to software, it's these green boxes. It says right up at the top, shoebox to software. It goes through and explains what kind of usually the process is for preparing tax returns. Someone's locked out. That's okay. So this one, I'm not going to read it to you, but they start out very detailed with what the process generally is for preparation of tax returns. How we start with source documents, W-2s, 1099s, those types of things, and then you input it into the system and it ultimately spits out the 1040. So going through that whole process, and that's what they're explaining here. Then, after they explain what that process is, they give you an example of a client. So the next few pages, you'll see what they give you is Ed and Betty Davidson are the clients. They give you the address, the social security numbers. It tells you their filing status. They're a married couple. They're married filing jointly. How old they are as well. So you can figure out what their birth date is. Roughly, just use January 1st of whatever year makes them this age. And then it gives you the information on the document. So we've got a W-2 for Betty in the textbook. It's got all of her information about her wages and withholding amounts, as well as some state information here. I don't think they want you to put in necessarily any state information. Well, you could go ahead and put it in. They don't give you a state. You can just put in Iowa, okay? Make something up. And make something up for, just Iowa is fine. But then the information at the bottom. And then they also received a 1099 INT for interest income. So what I just showed you, you'd find the document, and then you'd enter it in just exactly as it shows here. So, and you'd make sure you've got all the boxes filled in. They've got some supplemental information down here, so you do have to read all of this. Okay? You got to read everything in the green area. So wages, and they also take you through kind of step by step where you're entering this in. The taxable interest, and it gives you some check numbers. So like it tells you what line 11 should be, adjusted gross income, what line 12 should be, and this is on the 1040. the tax form, and what line 15 should be. So it gives you some check numbers. Also, it gives you the final product. Every week, I give you the final product. I tell you what your result should look like. So here's page 1 of the 1040, page 2 of the 1040. This is a very simple one. All they have is W-2 income and interest income. This is so that you can see if you made a mistake, right? So if your refund, and we'll go through these details when we get through chapter 1. Like if your refund, which if you're looking at this, well, I'll scroll down and show you here. So it says that their refund should be $304 after all this stuff was inputted in, after entering in what they've already paid through withholding and what their tax is. They should be getting a refund of $304. So if you did all of this and you got a refund of $410, you'd know, okay, I messed something up. Where did I mess up? Because it should be this, right? And then you can go, it shows you every single line what should be there. So it gives you a chance to double check, triple check, quadruple check what your numbers should be. Let me show you. It's also scrolled down here. So this is the chapter 1. So you would take this information that's in the book and enter it into that TaxAct software. Showed you where to enter the name, the address, the birth dates, all of that stuff. And then I tell you what forms I want you to upload. For this, it was just that PDF of Form 1040, pages 1 and 2. No other forms need to be uploaded for this one. Now, that's going to change with every TaxAct assignment. So you'll have to read carefully which forms that need to be uploaded. Here is the answer right here. So this is right from the textbook. Sorry, it's a little bit blurry, but you should be able to see it in yours. So you would want to check and say, okay, well, line 15, 24,938, if you see in the textbook, it says line 15 of the 1040 should be 24,938. It gives you a check number there as well. Let's see. So answer to the problem provided in the textbook. Use this as your guide. Your answer should match the Davidson's 1040 as shown in the textbook. In order to get maximum points, your submission must match the answer given in the textbook. Points will be deducted for not adding your name to the client's name, and points will be deducted for derivations from the provided solution. 5 points will be deducted for each schedule or form that is not attached. So make sure all of your schedules and forms are attached. I want to emphasize this. Your name. It could be over here. It could be over here. It could be your abbreviation, something that identifies you. Okay? This is how I can tell that you did it. All right? Is you've added your name to this. And I do take points off. And I'm pretty harsh about it right from the start. Okay? So just make sure that you put your name there. Also, like I said, make sure that you're attaching the correct forms. So like I said, this one just pages 1 and 2. There's pages 1 and 2. Just like that. So you'll want to check that all of your lines look like what the example looks like. If they don't, then you've messed up somewhere. You've entered something incorrectly, maybe entered it in the wrong place. Garbage in, garbage out, right? So the software is only as good as the person that's entering the information. It's only as accurate as that. Okay? Let's take a look. I'm going to show you chapter 2 because chapter 2 is a little bit different. It's less step-by-step. It assumes that you roughly know how to get this entered. Let's see here. So let's go to chapter 2. All right. So with chapter 2, we are going to be using, so please complete a tax return for the fictitious client. Actually, I'm going to try and open up the textbook if I can. Hold on a second. And by the way, usually when I'm lecturing, I use the textbook. I don't usually use the PowerPoint slides. I don't like the PowerPoint slides for this book. They're up there for you. They're available, but I don't use them. Let's see. What am I doing here? All right, come on, dude. Okay, this will make life a little bit easier here. Okay, in chapter 2, tax return problems. So, using it, complete a tax return for the fictitious client Margaret O'Hara from tax return problem 3, found on page 2-41 of your textbook. Add your name to the last name of the primary taxpayer. Right? Abbreviate if you need to, that's fine, or just use your last name. In this case, again, for Margaret, we just need the 1040 pages 1 and 2. So let's take a look at problem 2. All right, here's Margaret. You know what? Let me, hold on a second. This is probably helpful for you. Easier to see. All right, so we've got Margaret. Margaret has been divorced for about 2 years. All right, so Margaret's not married. She's single. She's 28 years old. Here's her address, social security number, date of birth. So all this stuff will be entered into the system. Her wages. So this is what her W-2 looks like. So in this case, we don't get a picture of a W-2. We get the information from the W-2. But that's all right. We can still use this information. So there's her box 1 wages, amount withheld, social security wages, social security withheld. Nothing there for state. That's fine. We'll just leave that blank. Maybe she lives in Florida, someplace that doesn't have an income tax. Oh, she does. She lives in Florida. Prepare the 1040 plus all appropriate schedules and worksheets. She does not want to contribute to the presidential election campaign. What the heck is that question? Well, there is a question here. Presidential election campaign. Click if you want $3 to go to this presidential election campaign fund. Well, they said she doesn't, so we wouldn't need to click that. She had qualifying health care at all times during the tax year. Guess what? That doesn't matter anymore. It used to matter. There used to be a penalty if you didn't have health insurance. There isn't anymore, but your textbook hasn't updated the problem. So that doesn't really matter to us. We have provided selected filled-in source documents that are available in the Connect library. Okay, so I guess there is a library where you can see the source documents if you want to. Let's see. Here's the library. I don't know what your library looks like. This is what mine looks like. I don't know where they would be. Let's look under the student resources. Supporting documents. There we go. Chapter 2, supporting documents. Okay, so tax return problem 3. There's your W3 or W2 if you want to see it. Okay, so you can open those up and use that if it's better for you. Where'd I go? There we go. So this is it. All she has is a W2. So that would be entered into Tax Act. You'd create a client, enter the information into Tax Act, and then I've also got here the solution. So here's what it should look like with all the lines. The only difference on this one would be your name would be added to O'Hara. Refund of $21.40. I'm going to show you, I'm just going to real quick show you the chapter 3 one because I want to show you where it would be more than just a 1040. All right, so this one is Carl and Elizabeth Williams, again, from Tax Return Problem 2, found on page 3-41 of your textbook. Upload a PDF of the 1040, both pages, 1 and 2, Schedule 1, Schedule B, and Schedule 8812. So you know off the bat, this is going to be a more complex tax return, right? Because we've got additional schedules. Here's what they look like. When we get to this, we'll go through in more detail, but I just want to show you what those schedules would look like. So there's our 1040, pages 1 and 2. Schedule 1. Schedule B, and Schedule 8812. So Schedule B is for interest and ordinary dividends. There are certain circumstances under which you have to include this. You know, we had interest income in that the first problem, but we didn't have this form. It's because it didn't meet the requirements. The interest income was low enough that we didn't have to do that. But in this problem, it's high enough. And then this is credit for qualifying children and other dependents. So this is the child tax credit and credit for other dependents. And then a worksheet that goes along with it. But I tell you right there, Schedule 1, Schedule B, and Schedule 8812. Although I did include you only have to upload the ones that I've listed here. If I have a form on here that's not listed, you don't have to worry about including it. So like this has a worksheet that was shown. You don't have to include that. You can if you want. You don't have to. You only have to include the forms that I've actually listed up here. All right. Questions?